this meeting to order and establish that we do have a quorum. So we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we move to the first agenda item, I just want to say a couple of quick things. First of all, Kara, I just want to say welcome. I'm so excited to have you here and a fresh perspective and all of your knowledge and corporate education, you know, bringing that here. So welcome to the board and your first official meeting. And second, I just want to give a humongous shout out to my predecessor, Mr. Leonard Green. You have been an amazing leader for us for the last many, many years. More than I've been on the board, which is only 3. So I make it sound like you've been here for 100 years, but 15 is a lot of years to be on the board. And I think at least 6 of those you were either in the VP or the president position. Yeah. So that's a long time to be in leadership. So thank you for always reminding us that we don't need to be in the weeds and that we have a job to do and that we need to keep the kids first and foremost. And I appreciate everything you've done and all you've taught me. And I have really big shoes to fill. So I will do my best to not forget motions and to read appropriately and not give people vacation days they don't have. Going forward, I've already done that once. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we will go ahead and move on into the agenda. So the first thing is we need to approve the agenda. So I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you very much. We will go ahead and move on to superintendent's report. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. We've got quite a few things to go through, so I won't waste any time. First and foremost, I know we have a student on the line, so I want to make sure and get to him first because he looks like he is still doing many other things. So we have LJ on the line and appreciate him being here. Part of that was being part of our wrestling team and having an outstanding season, but most notably also we had the Missouri-Kansas wrestling tournament. And if I'm correct, I believe LJ actually had the winning pin that sealed it for the state of Missouri to win. So I just thought it would be something fantastic to have him on the line. And I don't know, LJ, what was that experience like for you? We got to say a few words, and would love to hear your thoughts on that.
It was a pretty cool experience and everything. To know that I got to be a part of something like that, and the duel and everything was pretty cool. It came down to the 1 point between both teams, which is really good. And pretty amazing to know that I got to be a part of a win like that over Kansas.
Kid.
You ever wrestled in front of that many people before?
Well, at state's definitely probably the most people that I've wrestled in front of that I had cheering. But other than that, not really. Yeah, stay in that probably.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. And I don't know if either one of you want to say anything else, but I just wanted to make sure and let you know, and certainly any of the board members that want to say anything. But on behalf of myself and I know my cabinet, just thanks for representing us well. Thank you for being a true meaning of a student athlete and for working so hard to continue to be an excellence in all levels, but thanks for representing the Grandview Seaport School District. And then there might be any comments from the school board for sure.
Congratulations, thanks for bringing it home.
You make us proud.
Definitely, keep up the great work, proud of you.
Well, thank you, sir. I know you've got a lot going on, so any other comments you want to make?
We're actually at a practice right now, getting ready for a freestyle and Greco state tournament in a week and a half. So he stepped out because he wanted to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, appreciate it very much, sir. Thank you. Yeah, any chance that we get, and obviously there's any number of things going on, and a lot of our athletes are doing multiple things. We're going to have some of our women's basketball team coming on as well, and they're doing a bunch of things. And so we'll continue to recognize them, but obviously you guys know we have some amazing students in our school district. And so any chance that we get to highlight that, I want to make sure that we continue to do so. If you didn't know, we had an election very recently. So certainly want to say again, welcome to our new board member, a new president, new vice president, new treasurer. And thank you very much for that. Obviously, the passing of our levy and our bond. I'm extremely proud that our community came together to support us on both sides of our district, not only on the Kansas City side, but the Grandview side as well. Both sides passed by a well enough margin. We were over 57% for the levy. It needed a simple majority, and we were over 70% for the bond once again. So 71.27 for our bond and 57.1% for our levy. So once again, and I was on a Zoom today for the Chamber of Commerce meeting and heard the same thing from them, and certainly thank them for their support. But there certainly was a lot of conversation and comments about how amazing things are going in the school district and how much support that there is. And this was just another way for us to show that and highlight that. So appreciate the comments earlier from Chuck. And we do have a lot of work to do and a lot of things to do. But I'm telling you, I was on with the facilities improvement team as well today. And we're talking about how do we spend 45 million over the next 4 years. And we know that that list is very, very long. Now it's just a matter of how do we get to it all? Because all of us want the same thing. We want all those projects done next year. And there's just no rational way for us to do that. So we're gonna have to prioritize, but certainly we've got a lot of wonderful things coming. And then I'm very excited for some items, obviously, later on the board agenda that are going to speak directly to our levy and the support that we saw from our community, and that now we get to make sure that we show that support to our staff. So looking forward to that, but just wanted to make sure and comment on those things. Another very exciting thing for me to be able to do is introduce new administrators. And as we, we certainly never always want to see certain people leave and retire, but we're very thankful that they're able to do that and appreciate their service to the district. But being able to introduce new administrators that to you this evening, I get to introduce a couple. So I'm going to start with Royce Pallison. He's going to be our new assistant superintendent of finance and facilities. So I'm going to ask him maybe just to say a few things to everybody, maybe do a brief introduction of kind of where you came from and what's led you here. And then I'm sorry, but I guarantee you there's going to be at least 2 questions from this board.
I'm Royce Pallison, and got my doctorate degree from Wichita State and went to K-State for a master's and my bachelor's. And I didn't be popular with somebody. I have 3 children, 3 boys. One's a teacher, and the other 2 go to KU. I don't know how I failed on that deal, but there's a fan in every room. Anyway, I'm blessed to have a wonderful family. My wife Angie and I have been together a long time, and she has 3 children of her own. She has a boy and 2 girls, and so I got a step grandbaby. And of course, grandbaby really likes grandpa because he's a pretty cool dude right now. So, I mean, that's the highlight of my life. On the education part, I taught for 11 years and went to be a director of vocational programs for a few in alternative school. Then I was assistant principal at Ottawa High School, about 800 students, and moved up to be principal and did that for about 3 years in a smaller school, and then been at Jayhawk Lynn ever since. Last 15 years as superintendent. So it's been a wonderful experience. Really heard so many good things about Grandview. Just excited to be here. Dr. Rodriguez is pretty famous around the Missouri parts. They said he runs a tight ship and a good man to work for. So, and I'm just really looking forward to all this. So, questions?
Just when you came from Ottawa,
Yes.
cyclones.
Yeah, out 15 miles south of
Yeah,
there.
well, I know. My husband actually graduated from Ottawa University. My son just graduated from Ottawa University, played football. Lived there for about 10 years, so it's a nice little town.
It is. Good, good.
I have a question for you. This is at the time. Windows or Mac?
Woo!
Yeah.
You know the answer to that, unfortunately, already.
That map deal is where it's at, but on the state side, for all them state financial reports we gotta do, we gotta have that too, don't we?
It's a question in the interview process.
We gotta have both.
Sorry.
I think we gotta have both.
Very nice political correct answer.
Right. If our State Department would do a little better job, maybe we could be all.
He's failing you, he's failing you. Oh, man. Any other questions?
Do we have to let her go? No, just welcome.
Yes, 10 days early, apparently. I'm never gonna live that down. All right. All right, well, I have one question, and it's gonna be weird, because you'll hear I am known for my questioning. However, I'm gonna ask a different kind of question. So you said you're a grandpa and grandbaby loves grandpa. What's your most favorite thing about being a grandpa?
Well, this might be a little selfish to even say this, but I think it's whenever he shows up at our house and he reaches for me instead of grandma. That's pure satisfaction right there.
That is an honest answer, right?
I love it. I had to ask it. I mean, we're all about kiddos here, right? So I'm focused on the kiddo here. So, all right.
That's not because of any candy sliding that way.
But he likes riding around tractors and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. All right. Thank you. Welcome.
Next on our list, again, we're very excited to have her join us, and she's joining us via Zoom, so I'll give her just a second so she knows I'm talking about her. But we have Alexis Stark, who is going to be joining us. She comes to us from Ray Tech, and very excited to be adding her as Director of Special Services and any number of other things that are underneath that position, as you know. But very excited to have her here. So introduce her via Zoom, and the floor is yours. Kind of give us an introduction of yourself to the board, and then again, I promise you there's at least a couple questions there. So
I'm ready. My name is Alexis Stark. I am so excited to take on this awesome opportunity to work with Grandview Schools. My background, I heard someone talking about KU. I think that was Royce. I actually started at KU. I have my master's in special education. I then got my specialist in educational leadership from William Woods, and am currently working on my doctorate. I taught one of my first teaching jobs was at a psychiatric facility for children and youth over on the Kansas side called TLC. I then moved to the Missouri side and taught at the Raytown Alternative School, or their Success Academy, and taught grades 3 through 5 there. And then I came to Ray-Pec. That was actually where my husband and I were able to buy our first home. And I like working where I live, so I was able to get a job there. I originally started as a special education teacher, moved on to become a process coordinator, and I'm currently serving in the assistant principal role. And this year have got to have some fun with the athletic director side. And I say fun because I've kind of made it about that organizational piece, since I really don't understand most of the sports stuff. So had to kind of make that work in my brain. I am super proud to say that I am a mom of a 7-year-old with ADHD and a 4-year-old who is already planning to take over the world. And my husband is a truck driver. And what brought me to Grandview, honestly, is just the wonderful reputation of the district. But also, when my husband and I first got married, our first home that we rented together was in Grandview. And I just have super awesome memories of living in Grandview. And I'm excited to finally be able to work here.
all right, thank you so much. School board. Question?
You know I was gonna ask, but I don't have, she already answered it. She's got me sitting here.
All right, any questions?
Welcome.
All right, I'll jump in. What is the one thing you are most excited about joining us?
I am so excited about number one, I consider myself a lifelong learner, and there are several programs that I get to learn a lot about. And I am so thankful to Cheryl for giving some time already to me to kind of show me the ropes. And I am just super excited about the impact and hopefully positive impact that I will be able to have on the students and the community of Grandview. So that's what excites me the most, is being able to positively impact the Grandview community and its students.
Awesome. Well, and since you said 2 questions, I'll go ahead and ask a second one. So the opposite flip side of that, what do you see as the biggest challenge or area of opportunity?
Again, I am familiar with the programs that I'm going to be overseeing, but I am excited to learn more, especially when it comes to the McKinney-Vento process. I am aware of it. I've been in a more of a supportive role with that, but learning the ins and outs of how to take care of our homeless student population is something I'm very excited to learn more about.
Fantastic. Anything else?
No. Oh, I just want to say I was super excited. Cheryl actually shared the link with me on the PD about equity and the cultural competency. And I already started working on that. And I am just so excited to be a part of a district that acknowledges that. And I can't wait to learn more.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. We're excited to have you.
All right, so we'll go out to school sites now. It is my pleasure to introduce the new assistant principal over at Martin City, and Quincy Dacus is behind me, I believe. Yes.
Here I
And, not necessarily a stranger or a new face to our school district, but a new role and staying in the same building, but very excited to introduce her as one of our newest assistant principals. So Ms. Dacus, again, floor is yours for a moment.
And I know I'm always excited, so this is just how I went. That's how I went my daughter. And she's like, wow. But I have, I will say I'm a 19, 20-year educator. I've been in the Grandview School District for about 10 years. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We have 2 kids, a nephew, son. He's really our nephew, but we're gifted him, so we're very excited. He's a graduate of Grandview High School, and he is in the Navy in North Carolina. And I have a 7-year-old that is a proud Belvedere Bobcat. I'm trying to get her to come with me tomorrow too, because I didn't know. I love it here. I love my teachers. So a little bit about me. When I originally went to school, I went to school because I was going to be rich. I wanted to be a computer programmer. So I programmed, I learned all that stuff, and then I got a second degree in math. And when I went to program computers, there was nobody that I could talk to, because I like to talk. So my mom said, go back to school and get your teaching degree. And like, oh my gosh, you know, in the movie, when you say, oh, that's how, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what supposed to be. So I continued to go back to school. I got my teacher certificate. I got my master's. I got my ed specialist in William Woods. So me and Alexis are alumni of William Woods. And before that, I was at GMS, and I was pushed by Dr. Smith to be great. And I continue to be great. And I became an instructional coach. And then I came over to Martin City with a fabulous Dr. Harris, and I was pushed by Dr. Harris to be great. And so here I am today. To help Martin City and the Grandview School District continue to be great. Any questions?
I'd like to just say congratulations on your advancement. And I remember you from the middle school. Always, love your inspiration and your help with the, especially with my kids and all the other kids. So congratulations, and look forward to doing well in this role.
Thank you very much.
Questions, I want to say thank you. We're looking forward to seeing continued greatness. And we're just gonna need you to step it up a little bit, though. You're a little too calm.
I try to calm down, but it's just not in my nature. So I'm happy all the time. So when you see me, I'm gonna, hey, Mr. Green.
That's all right. I'm right there with you.
Okay. So thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
All right, we've got one more this evening for you. Mr. Brian Ray, who is the new assistant principal over at Grandview High School. So comes to us from Kansas City Public Schools most recently. So I'll let him kind of talk about the rest of his journey, but welcome to you, sir, and floor is yours.
Thank you. Education is not my first career field. I had left high school and thought I was gonna do all kinds of other things and join the military. I've only been in education for about 10 years. I started in Aurora. I got my bachelor's degree from Metropolitan State, Denver. I started teaching in Aurora, social studies and English. And then my wife, who I knew in high school, we were not high school sweethearts, but we knew each other in high school. Wanted to come back home, so we moved back to the Kansas City area, where I taught at Leaf Summit North for 7 years as an ELA and avid teacher before I pursued administration. And then I went to KCPS as vice principal at Southeast High School, and that's how I ended up here with you. Been married 15 years this month, and I have 2 small children, a 10-year-old boy and a 9-year-old daughter who is working on 16.
That's what they do.
Yes, I'm not sure. One of us is not going to make it out for high school. I'm not sure which one it is. But yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity to be here. I actually was encouraged to come to Grandview by one of my mentors and various people that I know in the community. When they told me this position is open, I was kind of pushed by a couple of people to come here because they thought that Grandview would help me make me a better principal and a better educator. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity. And I did not go to KU or K-State. I got my master's from UCM and I'm working on my doctorate at Baker. But my wife is a KU grad. So by default, if I want to go home, I have to be a fan.
Smart man.
Yes.
Questions from the board?
Questions?
So you got a daughter 9 years old going on 16. I got a 5-year-old going on 15. I gotta take her on my first date. What would you recommend?
Don't.
Don't. Is that the end of the sentence? Just don't? Set the bar high.
I'm already committed. so-
Oh, okay. Well, then I give you the same advice I use with my wife. Anywhere she wants to go.
Ah, there you go. Again,
Smart.
smart
She's
man.
gonna
Yeah,
Target.
right.
Go to Target, set a price point, get in, get out, and buy her a brownie from the Starbucks on the way out. You'll be your hero. Or a cake pop. That's what
So what do you see as the greatest opportunity at our high school from what you know now?
Actually, I've had the opportunity to go spend a couple of days at the high school already. And I'm really excited about some of the different things that Dr. Butler is pushing with the equity grading. That is something that I really haven't been exposed to yet, but I've already been reading up on it. And I like the direction and the pathway that it's going. So I think that's a great opportunity because I think looking at the students' progress and how we develop our students, that's a real honest and authentic way to give them credit and to help foster their education because it gives them goals and they know exactly what they're getting feedback on, which is one of the biggest complaints that we get. Why did I get this grade? Why did I get this grade? Well, now you know exactly why you're getting a grade. So I love the authentic aspect of that. So I'm excited to, like I said, I've already started learning about it and getting wrapped into it. I've been to a staff meeting and an admin meeting to start learning about it already.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you. Welcome. We look forward to seeing the good things you do.
Thank you.
All right, got a couple of things. Just want to mention, of course, some amazing news. We sent this to you, obviously, but transportation had their annual safety inspection, 100% score. I just want to kind of maybe make sure that you understand the context of that. Not only has it been a while since we've had that, what was it, 1990? 1998 was the last time that we had 100%, but there is something like 250 different things that they check on every single bus. And it doesn't matter if it's working, functioning like 1 second and they drive in and it stops, you automatically get dinged for that. It could be anything. I think you were even saying like a little slit in the windshield wipers. That's going to automatically be something that they get dinged on. So it's amazing score and certainly a lot of different work. So
10,750 items they checked over our fleet.
Wow.
We have amazing mechanics. Obviously, Adam's leadership, it's an amazing feat. And so certainly wanted to share that with you. as well. COVID-19 update tonight. I'll try to be as brief as possible, but certainly entertain any questions. As you know, I put this on every single board agenda since we had the closure last year. Just over a year now. It's amazing kind of where we are, but I'm very proud of kind of a lot of things that have gone on. I'll start with, being able to do vaccination clinics with our staff, being able to offer that with our partnership with the Visiting Nurses Association. So they've had both rounds of that shot now. This last weekend, we were able to partner with the National Guard in Missouri to have and host at Grandview High School a drive-through clinic. If any of you had to go anywhere along that road that day, you know how busy it was. They vaccinated over 1,700 people that day for that. So again, that gets everybody closer to the things that we're all wanting to see done. So very proud that we were able to partner with that, and that was one of the easiest yeses for us to say. There wasn't anybody that we were talking to that wasn't all in about trying to make that happen, and certainly they run it, but we tried to give them anything and everything that they needed because we knew it was going to be a good thing for our community. So very proud of that. Like I said, we've been really working all year with the goal of trying to bring our students back. So walking around on Monday and going to elementary schools that had grades 3, 4, and 5 back all 4 days was just an amazing experience. And one teacher I was talking to at Belvedere literally said, well, the noise level went from here to here. And she said, and it was awesome. They were so excited. Now, again, I know when I say that, I always want to put the caveat, I know that also causes angst. I mean, there's angst that still goes along with having more students in our building and everything along with that. But I can assure you, it's been really amazing to have our students being able to come back more and to still have safety things in place. And we'll talk a little bit more about the classes and the sizes and things like that during the curriculum instruction update tonight. So I'll try not to steal Dr. King's thunder a little bit because she's and her team have done a lot of work, which we talked about last month. April 26th is the date 1 week from this coming up Monday when we will bring back all of our secondary students the exact same way. So we'll send out some things again to remind people just that, hey, every single day now is open. So we've decided to keep Wednesday still a virtual day for many different reasons, but still so our teachers have that day to continue to plan, to help, to still provide resources. And since our students are kind of used to a little bit of both, we felt like that was still a good opportunity for them as well. So very excited about that. Very proud of the work that my team has done and the enormous efforts from all 3 of these individuals. Again, we're talking about the scheduling and trying to make sure that the principals and the sites and everything is ready to go, to the personnel side of any number of concerns and any number of things that we have to make sure the safety protocols and all that stuff is still in place, to ordering new desks, which we talked about, and all these other particular pieces that there's just a lot of stuff that has to be going on from a facility standpoint to make sure that we were ready to go with that. But it was really neat. I asked the principals on Wednesday during their meeting for one word to describe, and they were all, I mean, it was like excitement. It was just really a positive experience all the way around. Like I said, even though I know there's still some hesitancy and certainly some concerns with the number of students in the building, overall, it's been a very positive start this week, and I'm very excited about our secondary students coming back on the 26th. So it's been a long journey. We'll get there, and then I'll kind of memorialize this a little bit for you next week and just remind everybody the journey that we've been on for the last year once we get everybody back. But very, very much looking forward to that happening there. So happy to answer any questions about that specifically around anything going on with our protocols and that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'll have just one brief thing on the board updates, and that's it.
I have a question just in general. So you're going back to 26. Do we know, like, statistically speaking, what is our vaccination rate among the employees? Like, are we 100% or of the people that are going to get it, or are we keeping track of that?
We try to keep track of that. We have asked multiple times. I can be honest with you and tell you that some of our staff members choose not to provide that information.
Okay.
So my best guess right now is anywhere between 60 and 70%. I know we vaccinated 15% of our staff in January. That was when we were focusing on that tier, which was 65 and over, as well as other health concerns. The second round, we did about another 15%, but I know a lot of other staff members that have gotten it from various other places. So it's very difficult to pinpoint what that is. We will once again probably ask for that information just to say I did or I have not yet. When we initially did it, it was somewhere around 70%, 65, 70% said they were planning on it, I think. So
Initial survey.
yeah, the initial survey. So I think we're still roughly in that area, but it is kind of hard to pinpoint.
Sure, I was just curious, statistically speaking, with everybody coming back, right? Like kind of what that number was looking like.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we did, and the rationale behind that still was that we had provided the multiple opportunities for them to. Again, they could choose to do what they wanted to do. But for example, the reason why the 26th was chosen for our secondary students was because that was well over 2 weeks since that vaccination event that we provided for them. So that way they would be fully vaccinated after that second shot. With our younger students coming back, we know that the variant that's still here at the moment is not really spreading amongst the younger kids. It's that other variant that's kind of coming in. So we still felt really good about bringing our elementary students, as most of our other area schools had already done previous to us.
No, I appreciate that. I just know with all the variants going around and, a lot of the information out there, like some people are saying our vaccination's only gonna last 6 months with all the other various pieces. So I was just curious. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, and I meet every single week. Now it's every other week with the health department. So we're in constant contact about what's happening in our area and everything like that. And then keep in mind also that we still have between 30 and 35% of our students that are virtual.
Sure.
That have chose virtual for the entire year. So with over 3,700 kids, you still have 30%, 35% on top of that actually are not going to be in the buildings. So we're, no matter what, we are significantly lower than what we would be on a normal school year.
Saturday's event was open to anybody 16 and over.
Yes, it was.
And I'll share, I was in that line early. Thank goodness it was early because I drove past it later. And I thought, thank goodness I was in here at the 8:15 time frame, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So my husband and son both got vaccinated. So it was smooth. Everybody was super nice. I mean, I saw a few people, pull out of line. I think they just expected it to be a 15-minute thing and that, but you got to consider that you have to wait 15 minutes as well. So I think it was run very, very well. So.
Well, we know we're not out of this yet. Again, I reiterated to our staff, but also to our principals to relate to their staff that, certainly we need to continue to be vigilant with the protocols that we have in place for health and safety. And so this is not the time for us to slack on those kind of things, but that needs to continue to be the case in our schools. So we will continue to have masks. We'll continue to have all the same protocols that we had in place from the very beginning. The distancing piece obviously changes a little bit with the CDC guidelines, as we've mentioned before, but most of our other guidelines have been updated, but most of them continue to remain the same. So I'll continue to update you as we have additional things that occur, but very excited that we're heading toward that date. Last thing that I'll just say very briefly on board priorities, of course, you heard Alexis mention it as well, but we did have our PD session and did have another round of our module on cultural competency. So I'm very excited to have that pushed out, and the way that was done through our C&I department was amazing. So it's gone very, very well with those components. So very excited, and I will leave it at that unless there are any questions for me.
Questions? I have one. Can you just, you attended the AASA convention or conference, I guess however you say that. Can you give us like top highlight of that?
So it's very interesting with that because this is the first year they've ever done a virtual one. So most notably, the entire conference was really focused on equity, and that's been kind of their theme most of this year. And so a lot of the sessions were focused on equity in the classroom. What does that really look like? There were cultural competency sessions. And so I think one of the most exciting one that I was in was around cultural competency. Pedro Noguero is a guy out of USC, and he did a presentation. He always does a lot of these conferences, and every time I listen to him talk, he's just amazing when he talks about equity and what that looks like across the school districts and how we need to look differently at those kinds of things and really focusing on students and what are their challenges and stuff like that. So I'd say in a nutshell, all the sessions had some sort of focus around equity, but coolest thing for me was, we've all been to conferences, and when you walk in, sometimes you go into just maybe the session that you thought was gonna be one thing that really wasn't that, and you're kind of like there. And so then sometimes you leave, but then, well, I can't really go in late to another session, whatever like that. When it's virtual, man, I could just pop in and out of several, like, nope, that's not what I want. Pop right into the next one, and then I get to actually go back because it was buffered. So I could just go back to the beginning and watch from the beginning of that session. So I kind of liked it in some ways. I would rather have been in New Orleans where they were having it, but it was certainly not the right time to be in New Orleans, but around thousands of people. But from that perspective, the conference was very, very well attended, but it was really still very vital and important.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Nothing else on that then? We will move on to salient days. Dr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, so certainly a few things. Most notably, we've got a workshop coming up, so I want to make sure that you have that on your calendar for next week. And then we also have graduation coming up as well on the 24th. We are planning in person. We're planning over at the arena, just like we normally do.
Do you have any details worked out as far as attendance goes and things yet?
Right now, we're telling students that they'll have 4 tickets, which is less than normal. And we anticipate that that could possibly change. You've seen guidances start to change in the counties. So we're still a little ways away from the date. So we didn't want to extend anything because we figure that you can always give additional tickets, but getting those tickets back is probably not going to happen. So we're sticking with 4 tickets for now, and then we'll look at how as we get closer, what the guidance is and whether we can open that up. But you've seen that they've opened up, no restrictions on events and things like that. So we're still going to be very cautious. That's a really big place, even with all of our graduates and those families. There's a lot of ways for us to social distance and space everybody out. So we'll just spread out the students a little bit more. There's not going to be a band on site or anything, and so a few things will be different in that regard, but still mostly very traditional.
All right, then we will move on to the finance committee report. Mr. Green on the right.
Okay, the finance committee met on April 13th at 5:15 p.m. In attendance was Chuck Cornford, chair, Don Kissinger, member, Damon Green, member, and Ann Marie Cook, assistant superintendent. There were no guests in attendance. Ms. Cook asked if there were any questions related to items on the April 15, 2021 regular meeting. There were none. Committee inspected representative warrants. Mr. Cornford examined all warrants for 15,000. Mr. Kissinger examined the district purchasing cards. Mr. Green examined the expense and reimbursement warrants. Ms. Cook responded to questions. Based on examination, the finance committee recommends the warrants be approved by the Board of Education. And it was deemed that Mr. Green, myself, would report out on this meeting adjourned at 5:34 p.m.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move right along to recapitulation of funds. Dr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, a few things going on, obviously, as usual, and a few things we're moving forward, but let's go.
Yeah, the financials in your packet are. Sorry, something in the background. Wow, that's quite the
Mood
Some kind of sinister, actually. I was like, this is not bad news. I think we're okay.
What are you gonna tell us?
The financials in your packet are through the month of March. On the revenue side, we're actually really comparable to where we were this time of year. Extremely pleased to share with you that our current tax revenues, it's about 22.3 million. At the end of March, we had received 98.85% of our budgeted current tax revenues, whereas last year we had collected only 92.95%. I've been sharing with you those were coming in stronger. So you'll see some adjustments later in the budget amendment that we have later in the agenda. On the expenditure side, we are actually down about $2.5 million from this time last year. Some of that's related to the cycle of things, but also our expenditures are just down in total. Payroll expenses are right where we would want them to be at this time of the year. And as you know, our salary and benefits are 80% of our budget. So that's always a marker that we take a look at. At the end of March, for the current year, we do have a surplus of about $7.6 million. Sadly, that will not last because our tax revenues have tapered off significantly, and we know that our expenditures will continue throughout the year. So we'll talk a little bit more in the budget amendment, and actually next month we'll do a 3-year forecast and take a look at where we think we'll really end up this year and where we'll go moving forward, particularly now that the levy is passed. So happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions? All right. No questions. We will go ahead and move on to audience participation. Ms. Myers, do we have any registers?
No one asked to speak tonight, Madam President.
All righty. Well, then we will go ahead and move on to the consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you.
I did see the Apple thing. I want to change my mind. Just want you to know.
Good thing that you're focused on students. All right, we will go ahead and move on to student success focus area.
Yes, so we have a program evaluation this evening, gifted education. So Dr. King.
All right, Ms. Malloy is going to take us through our program evaluation on gifted education. Ms. Malloy?
Sorry. I'm here. Good evening, everybody. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm doing the program evaluation on our gifted program. And just a little bit of information. We have 3 full-time teachers. Currently, we're serving 81 students. That's down a little bit, but I can talk to you later in the survey about our program about what we're doing to try to increase those numbers again. We are serving 1st through 12th grade, and we identify our students in kindergarten and then start programming in 1st grade. Currently, we are not serving anyone in the program for exceptionally gifted students. That's the, we work in the consortium with Hickman and Center, and we had some students, but they unfortunately moved to a different district. We have adapted our schedule since we went into the hybrid virtual schedule. And so we're seeing Monday and Thursday, our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade students, Tuesday and Friday, our 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then on Wednesdays, that's when we do our PD and our outreach to our families. We hopefully, and I'm positive we'll be back to this, we will move back to our original scheduling the next school year, in the 2021 school year, which we will see grades 1 and 2 on Monday, grades 3 and 4 on Tuesdays, 5 and 6 on Wednesday, grades 7 and 8 on Thursday. And then we see our high school students weekly to serve them for class scheduling, choices, direction on scholarships, ACTs, all of that. Another highlight I would like to talk about is that we participated in Battle of the Brains in 2019, but were not eligible to win. And also, because of the COVID shutdown, we weren't able to do the Duke Talent Search, which is the ACT for our younger students. However, 3 of our students were able to get into the 2020 Talent Search just prior to the shutdown, and their scores respectively were a 24, 23, and a 21, which is really good for middle school students taking the ACT. Next, I'd like to focus on our K-Kids program. We piloted that at a couple of elementary schools, Belvedere and Conwest, in the 2017-18 school year. And then we have pushed it out into all of our buildings to help identify kindergarten students to see if they qualify to come into gifted programming. We went district-wide in the 18-19 school year, and to date, we have been able to identify 22 additional gifted students with our K-Kids program. This school year, we Dr. Adams spent a lot of time kind of modifying it for a hybrid and virtual students, and we are now in the process of evaluating and testing those students who came out of the K-Kids program to see if they will be eligible for programming as they start their 1st grade year. Historically, Our students achieve really high in our MAP. As you know, during the shutdown last spring, we did not do MAP testing, so I don't have anything available to you for that. Demographically, we do keep an eye on this, and we want to make sure it's mirroring the demographics of the district. As you can see, we have 43% of our students are African American, 36% white, 10% Hispanic, 8% multiracial, and 3% Asian. And that is a pretty good mirror of what our district looks like right now. We have maintained pretty high parental involvement, and that's our goal, is to stay in touch with our parents all of the time. The program, the average ACT, I'll talk about that. The average ACT composite for our gifted high school students is a 28. We do work hard with them to get them prepped for that. Due to the increased opportunities, offerings of advanced classes at the high school, and that just continues every year. We do not do any pull-out services for our students at the high school level. That allows them to participate fully in all that the programming is offered at the high school level. We are still looking for students to participate in our PEGS program, and those students have an IQ of 140 and above. And we have a couple that we would like to assess, but the parents were not wanting to go there this year because of the hybrid and virtual settings. In our conclusions, some of our strengths I will focus on is our program recognizes the uniqueness of each individual and then offers an opportunity for individual students to develop intellectually and socially to their maximum potential. We have strong parental involvement and commitment to our program. Our students in the program are recognized for their accomplishments, and there's regional, state, national. That's kind of been curtailed this year because of the pandemic, but we expect to come back strong next year. We'll continue our participation in the Duke Talent Search program. We also continue to work with our counselors and teachers regarding focused programming to make sure we're getting as many referrals as possible to test for potential students. Always a concern, especially since DESE sometimes, or in the past, cut the funding for gifted programming. We want to make sure that we still have adequate funding and that we are increasing the enrollment of our eligible students. Some of our recommendations would be continuing our K-Kids program to identify potential gifted students, and continue increasing the awareness with our new staff and administrators on our programming. Continue the participation in our PEGS consortium, and also explore opportunities for partnering with the district students, parents, and community. And increase the awareness of the program through our website, our focus program website. We have program newsletters, and we also have a YouTube video. So that's my quick overview of the gifted programming. I know there will be questions.
Questions do we have?
I'd like to know, when you're testing, what kind of tests are you utilizing to seek out these gifted students?
We look at in the classroom, there's different curricular activities set up to see if the students are achieving at a high level on those. Then we use our diagnostic team to, we use an IQ test, a cognitive test. We also use a creativity assessments, parent and teacher learner profiles. And if they're a student with a little bit older, we will use like iReady results, data that we have from the testing that we do, state and nationally normed tests. So we try to look at the whole child when we start working and looking into see if they would meet criteria for gifted programming.
Okay, and is it every child, or is it just certain things you kind of, certain criteria you already have when you're looking at students to be selected?
There would be teachers, counselors would start observing and see if the student is excelling at a higher rate than their peers in their classroom. And we would start having them collect data and different data points and then make a referral. They would talk to parents and then make a referral for assessment to see if they qualify in the gifted program. A little bit more, the cognitive test, the IQ we look for is 124 and above, and we look at 95th percentile if we have any academic achievement scores to review.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Malloy, you mentioned that you were looking at ways to increase participation in the program. And this year seems, lower than normal, even in last year's or last couple of years. And I assume some of that potentially could be due to COVID and some other things, people not being registered and that. But it's been a pretty significant decline steadily over the last several years. Do you have any idea why you think that might be?
Some of our decline has been, truthfully, some of our families have moved and they might have had 2 or 3 students in our program. We are continually working with the counselors, and our focus teachers are working with the buildings also to see if working to talk to them about what a gifted learner looks like, and so that we're not overlooking. That's we have students that are English language learners. We have some students that are on IEPs. So we're trying to look at every possible group of students and to make everyone aware of what a gifted learner is like. And so that we just actually talked about that 2 weeks ago. I meet weekly with Ms. Thurman and the focus teachers. And that was one of our things we discussed a couple of weeks ago, of how we would continue to reach out and make sure that we're not overlooking any potential student in our buildings.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
The schedule that you have for the gifted learners, it's all in school, correct?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Afternoon. Is it all during school hours?
All during
Yes.
school hours, yes. Uh-huh.
All right. No more questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll need a motion or recommendation.
Oh, shoot. I even got a reminder about that too. All right, we do need a motion.
Okay, it's not mine.
The gifted education program evaluation as presented. That's second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the gifted education program evaluation as presented. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you. Now we can move on.
We'll move on. Curriculum instruction update. This is another one that we kept on the agenda very purposefully to make sure that we can continue to bring back information to you and keep you updated in a little bit larger format, but certainly in an open meeting so that everybody can see those updates. So I'm going to ask Dr. King again to take us through a couple different pieces. Yep.
Okay, so tonight I'm going to take you through 2 pieces. I'm going to take you through our return to learn 3rd through 5th grade and a little bit of what that process looked like. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the state's return, their MAP and EOC new guidelines for end of the year testing. The return to learn 3rd through 5th. So when Dr. Rodriguez started talking about it is time that we start bringing back more of our students 4 days a week. That's not something that just happens immediately. So he starts talking about it and putting it in the air. And that starts a whole process with the C&I team is looking at numbers and those kind of things. If you flip to the next 2 slides, actually you can go to my spreadsheet. This is how my brain and my team thinks. So this is how this looks for, and if you notice, this is entitled Joanna and Kenny student enrollment. So this is every teacher, these are all the class sizes, And I tabs at the bottom, so I can look at any size, or Kenny can look across and see, okay, where are class sizes at right now? And where's the potential issues we might be having? If you scroll over to Martin City K-8. Martin City K-8, right now I'm looking right at Dean. He's sitting at 21. That's a little too much for me. I check in with Dr. Harris daily, like how is he feeling? Is he okay right now? Is he feeling like he's gonna need somebody pretty soon? Where is he at? And he's okay right now. We did add, when you see it over Gowan and Fry, right now they're simultaneously teaching. They're virtual teachers. So they've actually pulled in kids and they are doing hybrid, they're doing virtual and in-person teaching at the same time. It is their choice. But we're trying to make sure we provide some extra support for them, because if not, those 6 kids would have been in those other classrooms and they would have been way too high of classes, and we would not have been able to guarantee even 3 to 4 feet social distancing. So this is what goes into it. So that, I mean, this is just at a glance we can look at. These are updated weekly, so as new kids enroll. I had a building principal text me today, said, hey, I had 2 more enroll today, grade 4. Okay, what does that do to your numbers? What is that going to mean? How do we make sure that we're staying on top of this? Do I have to add a classroom? It's all thinking, trying to think and stay ahead of it strategically as much as we possibly can. Gonna go back out. In order to do this, we also
Click on that tab.
yeah. We also enlisted the help of Angela and the maintenance crew. Yeah. So at Meadowmere, I had a 3rd grade. They have recording walls, and I had a classroom teacher, a virtual teacher in the middle, and a classroom teacher. And they were going to be at 23 per classroom. So can we tear down those accordion walls? Take that virtual teacher, put her somewhere else, and build a temporary wall between those to expand the room. They did it. So that what you see there is temporary, you can't even see it's a temporary wall. It looks like it's been there the whole time. So we've got bigger classrooms, we can accommodate 23 kids. We had to get new desks in 2 buildings because they had tables. And if we're going to go to having 20 kids in a classroom, we can't have tables. We're going to have to be able to manipulate quickly, separate out, and come together. We went ahead and got desks like that so they can eventually pull back and create kind of cool shapes for desks, but they can also go apart. So we will not have this issue again if we ever have to go apart again. Testing those kind of things, we have the option now of coming in and out. We had to reassign rooms. If you've been to Martin City, we had 2 5th grade classrooms that were in little closets in the library almost. We had to move them. They had to get reassigned. We had the instructional coaches had to move out of the room. So we had teachers literally packing up and moving rooms in the middle. So our teachers have been put through a lot, and they have done it without, I mean, they want their kids back. It's been a lot for them. We've got a lot of moving parts to make this happen, and it's never taken lightly. But it's always done with the best intention. Is we need kids in the buildings. We need them back. They learn better when they're here. How are we gonna make it happen? So this is the picture of some simultaneous teaching going on. So when the high school comes back, they're all going to be simultaneous teaching. So here's what's going on right now is I have it happening. What are we learning from it? What are we needing? What are the lessons that we're learning from it? And how can we make it work better for the high school? Because right now there's a lot of questions about how is this going to work? How do I make it work best for the students? How is it going to work? Where does my attention go? Well, I've got teachers doing it right now. And so we're in daily communication. What is it that you feel like you're needing more of? They definitely feel like they needed dual screens. How do I get them dual screens? Make sure that they're doing a better job of it. So we're going to actually take the lessons from that they're learning and do a write-up to give to the high school. That here's what we learned in 3 weeks. Don't do this, do this. And they can take those lessons or, and I think they're exploring options that they're trying to think of now as well. These teachers that chose to do this, they did it for one reason only. If they didn't go simultaneously, those kiddos, I would have had to reassign those kids to different teachers, and that could have been the third teacher they would have had this year. And they said, no, don't do that. Let me keep them. I don't want them to have another new teacher this year. I want to do both of it. And I think that speaks volumes to the teachers and how they feel about students and feel about the kids that are in their room. So I want to make sure I say that, and I say that publicly for them. I've got 3 of them doing that right now, and it may be more by the time we finish. And then again, the high school, pretty much every one of them is going to be doing it by the time we finish. Okay, I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about the end of the year. So the state says we are going to do math and EOC testing. It's not going to count for accountability purposes, but they want to find out what's going on. So here's the latest guidance that they've given us, is they've extended the window. They've now said you can begin testing from the end of April, and you're going to extend it out through June. So after school's out, we can still be testing kids. We don't want to do that. But I'm just telling you, the state said, we're gonna let the gate go on this. We want you testing kids as much as you can. The target is 85% of your kids need to be tested. That's math and EOC. What the LEAs, that's us, the local education agencies that do not reach 85% of your kids tested, they said when you start school in the fall, you'll be testing kids. So it is our goal to get 85% of our kids tested, because last thing I want to do when kids come back in the fall is have to test them.
That includes the 30 to 35% that we were talking about earlier that are currently all virtual.
That's getting them in and having them test, because I can't let them test at home. We got to get them in. So here's our plan. So we're the May 3rd to the 8th is our window for 3rd through 8th grade. 3rd through 8th grade is May 3rd to the 28th. They're not testing all of those dates, but that's the window we've opened for all of for the schools. For 9th through 12th, required EOC courses for just a few EOC courses that are required. There's the window for it. Teachers, schools have already been scheduled. We've already got all that scheduled in your packets. I actually put the calendar for all the testing there. It's all colorized where you can see exactly when the schools are testing everything. Virtual students are going to be scheduled on Wednesdays in most buildings except for Belvedere, and GMS. GMS has a whole plan. They've figured it out. And Belvedere, because they're walkers, they're going to walk in rather than testing. So Wednesdays we did it because of busing. Buses aren't being used on that day. There's nobody in the building. So Adam has routed all the kids. And right now, if the kids get on the buses, we're going to get to 85% of our kids will be tested. The trick is going to become the high school. They've signed up. Will they get on? Will they show up? Will they get up and then take their ECO test? The virtual kids that are not tested will be documented and we'll report it to DESE as we're required to do. But that's the plan right now. Right now, I feel confident that if it goes as planned, we're going to be good. We're going to be good to go.
Again, us doing that on the Wednesdays, trying to provide another layer of protection, so to speak. I mean, if you're virtual right now, it's for a reason, most notably that you just still don't believe that it's safe for your child to attend school in person. So this is at least a way for you to come on campus when there are no other students. We had hoped that would provide a little extra support there. And thus far, it seems to
very few parents have said no right now. I mean, they've understood. Some have said they want separate appointments, and principals have been accommodating. They want to know, are their child going to be in the room by themselves? Those kind of things. What will the testing environment look like? And so principals have been trying to be very accommodating with large spaces like gyms or cafeterias, windows open, those kind of things. So we're trying to be as accommodating as possible. Any questions about 3 through 5 reopen and or end of year testing, state testing?
Is the 85% overall
Overall.
per grade?
Overall. So yeah, yes.
Just curious.
Great question.
Yeah,
That might help us on the high school.
it will help us. Help us.
You're not wrong.
But you have to understand though, like EOCs, if they don't test them, if they don't take their EOC, they don't graduate.
Yeah.
Or they have a less, or they're A+. A lot of it, they can't get their A+ if they don't hit there. So really, we're really kind of banking on, saying, hey, let's get this done. let's come in, and the state forgave a lot of our kiddos last year that they were in those things, and they said but it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's do all we can do. Yeah.
I'm understanding that you're gonna do the testing, and so for as long as you do the test, the A+ counts. The state's kind of.
If they're taking it, yeah.
Results.
Even if they don't, yeah, exactly.
I have a question because I know your spreadsheet, your Excel spreadsheet was 3rd through 5th, correct?
Correct.
Do you have something similar for like Grandview Middle and the high school? What numbers look like there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it's
You sharing those at a
and it's
different
still
time? I was just
evolving,
curious.
it's still evolving as well. I
Okay.
mean, both principals in the middle school in particular are constantly reviewing all that information and still making adjustments to that. You know, at the high school, I walked it, and I know Dr. King has been doing a ton of this, but I walked it with Dr. Butler, and knowing that, for example, in particular, there were 2 social studies classes that were going to have about 28, 29. So we're planning for that. And again, that's another reason for them to be a little bit more delayed was, you know, the kindergarten, elementaries through 5th have already been thinking about this for a little while because they were supposed to kind of come back in November. And so they were already thinking along those lines, but the numbers significantly changed since then. Secondary needed a little bit more time to kind of review that anyways, but they're still making some adjustments.
Well,
Right now.
and you have to realize, I mean, lunch looks a lot different at the secondary level, and then specials look different at the second. I mean, there's a lot more things that we're taking into account. And so, yeah, that's a simplistic looking spreadsheet. The secondary one looks a lot more complicated. And actually GMS had to go from, they had two in-person, 2 hybrid, 2 virtual per block, per teams. They had to go to 3 and 1 virtual, which meant bumped our virtuals up much higher numbers. So they could put 3 in person just to lower those numbers. So that ended up being a lot of maneuvering and had to do with scheduling.
And then I have an additional question too. Sorry, questions here. The picture you had of your teachers that are doing both, what level was that at? Is that the elementary level,
That's
middle
fifth
school
grade.
level? Okay, I just hope that we're adding grace to, you know, the high school teachers will be having to do this a lot coming up. And I just hope we're graceful about the fact what's working at the elementary level may potentially not work at the high school level when we're giving recommendations. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question. So I know it's different and it's high school versus middle versus elementary. But in the fall, we had to do iReady testing and everybody was virtual, I think at that point, or at least a lot of them were. And so they all had to come in to do that iReady testing. Do you have a sense of what percentage actually did? You know, I wonder, 75? Oh, okay. So I was wondering how that might suggest what's going to happen for having to come in.
Yeah, it was about 75.
Okay. So we have work to do there.
A little bit.
All right. Any other questions? All right. This is informational only. Do not need a motion here. Circled that on my paper. All right. Then we will continue on workforce excellence.
So very excited to move into this next one, the Grandview 8 and 10 recommendations for the 2021-22 school year. And a lot of work has gone into this. So I will turn this over to Ms. Deanda and Ms. Cook.
Thank you. I put a handout at your desk to kind of give you some information because we have some new members and that we may not have spoken about that for a while. So I wanted to give you some background on that. The Grandview 8 and 10, Grandview 10 process started after there were some issues between the board and not the board, the teachers and the administration in regard to salaries back in 1988. At that time, you may or may not remember if you've been here a while, but were pictures in the Kansas City Star of teachers picketing in front of what used to be the BOE office over here on Main Street. And at that time, the board said we need a solution. And so a solution was developed to bring collaborative negotiations to the district. And those came to us starting in 1989. Dr. Stansberry worked very hard to get that off the ground. So Grandview 10 was born. You can see in your handout the things that we use. Sorry. in regard to the negotiation process. We have the two teams, Grandview 8 and Grandview 10. You can see the makeup of both of those teams. Grandview 8 has 4 staff members, 2 central office members, and 1 site level administrator, and 1 board member. Ms. Foy helps us with both of those teams, and which we appreciate. And Mr. Green is the other board member for Grandview 10. 5 staff members, 2 central office, and 1 site level on Grandview 10. I talked about the history, you have that in front of you, and what we work on are salary benefits and the quality of work life issues that come to us through 2 different surveys. We work on that process, and just as a reminder, we included the history of the discussions. We call them discussions now, not negotiations. That language changed after House bill passed a couple of years ago. You will see the history in your packet, which we think is important because there's been some communication that we wanted to clear up in regard to over the last 10 years in the work that we have done and salaries being frozen. And you can see over the last 10 years, there was only 1 year in which salaries were actually frozen across the board. Since 2006, they've only been completely frozen twice. Certainly that's not our intent, not what we want to do, but we also always have to be good stewards of the finances in our district. So you can see that we negotiate for educational experience, we negotiate for salary steps, as well as insurance. Do you have any questions so far about that process? Okay. All right, I will pass it along right now to Ms. Cook to talk about the negotiations this year in regards to salary.
Yeah, our discussions this year were a little more interesting than normal, even because actually Grandview 8 met after the election, but Grandview 10's last meeting was prior to the election. And so as we went through and formulated our recommendations, we actually had kind of a 2-prong approach. We had 2 paths and 2 things that we'd all agree on that we would present, one for, when the levy passed and one just in case if something else happened. So that was a little bit different this year. Included in your item are 11 attachments, which include the salary schedules. As Ms. Danda said, the salary action history, review salaries, which key off of the teacher salary, et cetera, classified salaries. And then we did include the communiques from both Grandview 8 and Grandview 10. As you look at the salary action chart, this is clearly the best package we've been able to provide in recent history, pardon me. Not to be braggadocious, but we are offering for the certified staff steps, $800 on the base that flows through and is indexed through through the salary scale, educational movement for those that are eligible. And what that means is for everyone that's eligible for a step, meaning they're not on the bottom of their column, the raises will range anywhere from $1,679 to $3,275. The nice thing about when we add money on the step is that every staff member will recognize an increase. We have approximately 28% of our staff that are at the bottom of their column. And so without putting money on the base, they would not necessarily receive any type of an increase. So we're really pleased that we're able to do that. What's really special this year is that with the proposed benefit package that we'll be addressing in the next item, there is no cost increase this year. So staff will actually fully recognize the full raise that they get. Unfortunately, a lot of years when we're able to give raises, but if they have dependent coverage or choose to do a buy-up plan, if there's corresponding increases in the cost of insurance, sometimes it doesn't feel like you got that much of a raise at the end of the day when you get your paycheck. We believe this will keep us in a competitive position. One of the goals for both certified and classified staff has always been to be in the top third of the metro area. The district has worked very hard to attain that position, but the salaries are pretty close, and it really will not take a lot for that to change. And so by offering the steps, we recognize and honor our existing staff, but by being able to add $800 on the base, That benefits our existing staff as well, but it also helps keep our beginning salaries competitive, our whole salary schedule competitive as we try to recruit the best talent that we can for our kiddos. A couple of things new this year. Well, one thing new and one enhancement. We are implementing a national board certification stipend of $1,000 per year. That's something that has come up a couple times over the years. And we're doing a correspondence. We're also doing an enhancement to our doctoral stipend from $1,000 to $1,500. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we have kind of put a pin in that, and the group next year will actually do a little subcommittee to take a look at that to see if those stipends are comparable to other districts. Again, trying to maintain our competitive position within the metro area so we can attract and retain the best staff that we have. So like I say, extremely pleased with the package that we have available for our staff. A lot of hard work, a lot of tough conversations. It's not all about the money. As you look through the communiques, there are other items that are very important to staff and that we discuss. So we encourage you to take a look at those. But just wanted to share those highlights for you and respond to any questions you might have.
We have one question. With the increase to the base, do you know we landed on the chart for all the rest of the districts? Are we still in the top 5, or did that change with that?
Well,
It's going to be very hard to know that because we don't know where everybody else is doing theirs. But I can tell you, after a superintendent's meeting that we had yesterday, there's a lot of school districts, especially ones surrounding us, that are doing raises. And so I know Belton ended up passing their levy, which actually was just moving from their debt service to their operating, but they did that specifically to be increase their salaries. And they were going to be somewhere around 6.25% increase across the board. North Kansas City is going to be about 5.5% across the board. So a lot of school districts also did not provide any raises last year. They kind of froze everything. And if you remember last year, we specifically went ahead and went forward. And we weren't sure about this year, but we went forward last year. So I think we'll be able to maintain, this will help us maintain where we were and maybe even gain a little bit of ground. But more notably, if we did not do this, we absolutely would have dropped possibly 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. I mean, we could have dropped out of the top third very quickly in a year just because of all the other increases that I know are coming.
and one other thing, and my apologies,
No, please.
something that we're extremely excited about, our beginning teacher salary has surpassed the $40,000 mark, which was a goal that we had. And because that is that's a target that a lot of districts are trying to achieve. So with this passage of this package, we will have done that as well. I'm going to turn it back to Ms. Deanda to talk about the ratification results and close us out.
Thank you. I believe Ms. Heather Burrows is on the line to give us the ratification vote for GMEA.
She is.
Actually, I think it is Sandy Runyon that is doing that.
Yes, I had some Wi-Fi connections, but I'm here. I am happy to say that with 100 people saying yes and only 6 saying no, this packet was ratified.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Mary, are you on the line to give Grandview 8 ratification?
May not be available. She's connected. Oh, there she is. No.
I do have the vote. It passed with 100% approval. As you know, it's a small voting body this year. But just so that you're aware, and you'll see that item later, we'll talk about that reorganization for Grandview 8 as well. And if I'm not reporting accurately, I do believe I am, then Mary can get after me later. But I'm very sure that that's the vote. And then Mr. Green, Ms. Floyd, you are the board members on the team. If you'd like to say anything or make any comments.
I participated in the Grandview 10 committee, and I thought it was a very eye-opening committee to be on. I learned a lot. Appreciated being around all the different teachers in their respective positions. superintendents here. So just a great opportunity to hear the voice from the teachers directly, go through the survey, and just participate in the discussion. So I think it was a great opportunity, and very so much appreciated being a part of it.
This is my second year to participate in both Grandview 8 and Grandview 10, and I value this as one of my most important roles as a board member. I'm so proud to be a part of this team. They work so hard, and they value and listen to every single word that a staff member says to them. So as a former staff member, that means a lot to me. So I'm very proud to be part of it.
So if you have any questions, and I will say that we've had lots of board members participate over the years, and they've all been great. But I have to say that Don and Damon have been very participatory, and it is so helpful when that happens for the rest of the team, and it gives the teacher members a sense of what the board is thinking and direction. So that has been wonderful. So any questions?
Questions from anyone? I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you to both of you for serving. I want to say thank you to everyone who is on these teams. When I look at all that has been done and all the recommendations, I think every single thing that I've heard in the last 3 years that have been concerns have been addressed. And so I know a lot of that comes because we were able to pass that levy, and that's amazing. And so for any voters that are listening, thank you for that. But again, I'm just so thankful for all the participation, all of the hard work that everyone puts into this. So.
Yeah, and I'm very appreciative of the school board putting that on the ballot and finding value in knowing that this is what we're going to be able to do, is be able to put a package before you for our staff. That will be the largest one in 15 years as a combined package. We've been able to do that kind of amount of money on the base before, but obviously the base, along with the steps and all the other things attached to it, is pretty amazing. And it was certainly very exciting for me, again, as I said earlier, to be able to talk to the chamber and be able to say, this is the largest amount that we're ever going to be able to put forward to show our staff members how much we appreciate them and value them. So I think it sends a very large message, and I want to make sure that we thank you as school board for putting forward that, and as you said, Madam President, about our community and the message that they sent in passing both of those. Just very proud as a superintendent to be able to present this to you for approval.
All right, with that, this definitely requires a motion and a vote.
I move that we approve the 2021-22 certificated teachers, V salary, extra duty, all classified administrators and central office personnel schedules as presented.
Second.
All right, so properly moved and seconded to approve the 21-22 certified teachers, V salary, extra duty, all classified administrators, and central office personnel schedules as presented. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, it passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we will continue on and resource stewardship and organizational efficiency.
So part two kind of that is going to be the insurance proposal. So Ms. Cook.
Yes, the district actually has an insurance committee. It's a subcommittee that then reports and makes recommendations to both Grandview 8 and Grandview 10. We work with CBIZ to negotiate the renewal for this year. The rates for dental, life, and long-term disability remain unchanged under multi-rate guarantees from 2019. For those of you that may have been here last year was a rough year on our medical. We were woefully underfunded, and it came through. Our loss ratio was hellacious, and they came in with big increases. We had increased premiums, we had to make plan changes, but it has paid off. That kind of righted the ship, if you will. And so we were extremely pleased when our medical insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield came in with no plan changes and no rate changes for the upcoming year. Additionally, the renewal does include a 1/2 month premium holiday. And so the contributions from the district as well from any employee who has elected buy-up or dependent coverage will recognize that premium, 1/2 month premium holiday in the month of May. It's only a 1 month thing, but we're thankful for it because May is what the funds our insurance for June, which is our renewal date. As a reminder, we do have a core plan available at no cost to employees. That is the Spira Care Plan. We actually have an additional Spira plan that has an exclusive provider organization, and which actually has a little higher out-of-pocket maximum and some co-insurance after the deductible is met. But for employees that select that, the premiums are a little lower, so we actually make a small contribution, about $27 a month, into an individual health savings account for those employees. And then we still have the 4 buy-up options for employees to choose. So we have 6 plans available for our employees, which I will tell you is a lot of options for the size of our group. But we're pleased to be able to offer that variety. And so pending approval this evening, we're working to set up our open enrollment process, which will be a virtual process again this year. We learned how to do that last year pretty quickly. Like everything, we had to learn pretty quickly last year about turning everything and pivoting to be virtual. So happy to respond to questions, but we're extremely pleased to present this package to you for the benefits. I will remind everyone that next year is a bid year, so they'll go out to bid and we'll see what happens. But pleased to offer this and happy to respond to questions.
Fantastic. Any questions?
Let me just kind of piggyback what you said earlier. Since I've been a board member, seeing the process in place and the things that go on, it's just absolutely amazing. You don't see it anywhere else. So I think this is continuing part of the course to keep growing and seeing better things happen. So thank you for what you do.
Well, with that, I will entertain a motion then.
I move that we approve the recommendations of Grandview 10 and Grandview 8 to renew the Blue Cross Blue Shield, Delta Dental Standard, and Cigna insurance policies at the same rates for the 2021-2022 year.
Second.
All right, and properly moved and second to approve the recommendation of Grandview 10 and 8 for the insurance policies listed at the same rates for the 21-22 year. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, passes. Thank you. Alrighty.
Thank you very much for that. Next on the agenda, certainly very common this time of year as well, is budget amendments and a few things kind of going on in our financial world. So let's go.
Yes, you'll see the summary on the front page, but as always, we'll turn to our friend attachment number 2, which delineates the adjustments that we are requesting this evening. The first section outlines some operating transfers that we want to do. 2 of them are related to some CARES grants that we received, and those expenditures need to be recorded in the capital projects fund. So we're going to move money from our operating funds to our capital projects funds. And then down below, you'll see some expenditure adjustments and just moving it out of operating over to capital. And then there's an additional request from the GMS library to purchase some equipment. And so we would request to move some money from Fund 1 to Fund 4. On the revenue side, you'll see a variety of revenues that we will be adjusting, some increases in some of the tax accounts that I referred to earlier, increasing our state aid, finally feeling confident enough that that's going to come to pass. So we are increasing that. You'll see a slight negative adjustment to classroom trust fund. That is a component of state aid, so we're still recognizing about a $330,000 increase in that category. On the expenditure side, as I mentioned, there's those corresponding entries to support the operating transfers that we're recommending. And other than that, we have had some classified severance pays that has occurred that we need to make adjustments for. So communications expenditures, and then on Fund 3, some bonds payable that we needed to revise and increase that, but still puts us in a strong position. I will say that when you look at attachment 3, From a budgetary basis, this assumes approval of these revisions this evening. From a budgetary basis, it's a little scary because it shows that our fund balance would be at about 12.5% at the end of the year. You know, we're always very conservative in our budgeting. Budget conservative low on the revenue and conservative high on the expenditures. As I stated earlier, next month we will bring forth a 3-year forecast, which tries to paint a more accurate picture of exactly where we think we'll end up with real dollars. So happy to respond to any questions. Otherwise, we'll seek approval for the amendments that are outlined on that attachment number 2.
Any questions about that? All right, if not, we'll entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the budget amendments as summarized, background information and delineated on attachment number 2.
Properly moved and second to approve the budget amendments as summarized in background information delineated on attachment 2. Any further discussion? If not, we will all in favor. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to failing community involvement.
Thank you. Very, very excited about this next presentation as well. We've talked about this over the last several years. Certainly any number of different partnerships that we have throughout this district. I consider this to be another one that is extremely beneficial to our students, and we've expanded over several years, but our partnership with Cass County Community Health Foundation, so teledentistry in particular, but our dentistry programs and things that we have in the school district. So very excited that we have Katie Schroeder on the line with us today. She's the director of those programs with Cass Community Health Foundation, and she's going to present an information presentation for you this evening about this program that we're implementing.
Great, thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
You gotcha.
Okay, all right, well, thank you so much for having me. As Dr. Rodriguez said, I'm very excited about our continued partnership with the district. So what I'm going to discuss today is our school-based teledentistry pilot program. This was a partnership between Cass County Dental Clinic, or Cass Community Health Foundation's Cass County Dental Clinic and the Grandview School District, with funding from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, as well as Delta Dental Foundation. So first of all, just a review, what is teledentistry? So we've been partnering with the district for years, providing the preventive services program, doing screenings, fluoride varnish, and education in the buildings. And so teledentistry is kind of taking it to that next level, where a dental hygienist is going into the building, taking x-rays and intraoral photos, as well as taking very detailed notes about what she sees. And then she is, we store everything electronically. She's able to, at that time, provide her dental cleaning, as well as place any fluoride varnish or silver diamine fluoride on children, as well as dental sealants to help prevent cavities in permanent teeth on the chewing surfaces of those back teeth. So with teledentistry, we're taking portable equipment in. It's a one-on-one, so it was a good option during COVID as opposed to the larger screening program. And so she was able to provide preventive services right there at school using portable dental equipment. Following her assessment, our dentist will review the x-rays, the photographs, and the notes, and is able to actually make a diagnosis from them later. So that exam is completed within 48 to 72 hours. Sometimes based on the dentist schedules, it's completed later that day or even the next day as well. And then we follow up with the families to let them know the results. So we entered into an MOA with the district last year as we kind of geared up for this pilot program. Obviously with COVID, everything was put aside, but again, these are just some of the roles and responsibilities of the school district, as well as of the clinic or foundation as it relates to the program itself. I'm not going to go through these in detail, but it just shows really the extent of the partnership. So as far as our teledentistry enrollment, this is our hygienist, Jasmine, and she's working here. This was earlier this week at Belvedere Elementary School. So we did enrollment a little bit differently than originally planned this year. The plan, and as it's laid out in the MOA, was to have enrollment as part or to have the form as part of the online enrollment process. But you know, there was COVID and things were a little bit messy this year. So we ended up doing paper enrollment forms. We printed those out and dropped them off to the schools. We did have 98 forms completed and returned to us. 15 of those students were not eligible because they had private dental insurance. Our foundation, as a safety net, only provides services to children who are insured by Missouri Medicaid or who are uninsured and low income. So 15 of those had private insurance, or I'm sorry, 5 of them had private insurance. 15 of them were not due for their 6-month checkup yet based on their Medicaid. And then 17 of them were not present at the school on the day of their event. And that was either because they were out for illness, COVID quarantines, or we had a couple schools where enrollment was a little bit lower, where we had maybe 7, 8, 9 children who were eligible for services, but 1 or 2 of those was on a different day, either A or B, whereas all the others were on the other day. So we didn't bring the equipment back out on the second day for those 1 or 2 students. Instead, our outreach coordinator reached out to those families and offered to schedule them at the clinic instead. So total, we had 61 Grandview students were seen. This was these were elementary students ages 6 through 12 years old. 36 of the students seen were new to Cass County Dental Clinic. And of those 25 that we had seen at the clinic before, only 5 of them had received any services within the past 12 months. So they had kind of fallen off of that regular preventive schedule. So it was good to get those other 20 back in to be seen and receive those preventive services. So our findings are laid out here by school. So you can see the number of participants, the percentage that were, or the number that were on Medicaid versus uninsured, and then what the findings there were. So in our clinics, we typically see 97% of our patients are insured by Missouri Medicaid and 3% are uninsured. Through this program, we had about 18% that were uninsured. This year, with everybody being on free and reduced lunch, if they didn't have dental insurance, we just saw them, whereas in the future, we would make sure that they were eligible for free and reduced lunch in order to be eligible for services with us. So this year, we saw any uninsured students. And then overall, 67% of the kids that we saw had untreated decay. And of that, those 41, 16 of them, or 39%, had what we call active rampant caries. So rampant caries is like what's pictured here, where a child has cavities on 7 or more teeth. So this is actually a child from Con West Elementary School who was in kindergarten or first grade. They were 6 years old. So really young, but you can see the extent of the cavities there. The teeth are pretty broken down, and this child is clearly not accessing care. So all participants in the program, all 61 of them, received x-rays, images, a thorough assessment by the hygienist, a virtual exam by the dentist, as well as oral health instructions, home care supplies, and a prophylaxis or a dental cleaning. And then additionally, these are some of the other preventive services offered. So 59 of the 61, we applied the preventive fluoride varnish to. SDF, is silver diamine fluoride. And it's only recently been approved for use in the United States a few years ago, but it's been used in Europe and Asia for a very, very long time to help. It actually stops the progression of cavities. So if the hygienist saw an area that looked really suspicious that she thought might be a cavity, because dental hygienists, again, they don't diagnose, but she's able to determine, pretty well, if she thinks it looks like it's probably a cavity and it's something small, she can apply some of this silver diamine fluoride on it right there in the school. And then it could help either stop or slow the progression of the cavity. So in doing that, she kind of can help buy some more time for that child while they wait to get into the dentist. So that's really nice that we're able to provide that. And then the dental sealants are that coating that's placed on top of the chewing surface of the back teeth to help prevent bacteria from getting down in there. So overall, 33 of the students, so more than half of them, had any sealants placed, and we sealed a total of 109 teeth for those kids. So as far as some of those outcomes look like, because that's kind of the big thing, of course, that we're always looking at. And some of these events, like I said, Belvedere was just completed a couple days ago, so it'll take some time for the follow through. But of the 41 kids with untreated decay, 9 of them have completed treatment. That's about 22%. 8 of them received care at Cass County Dental Clinic, and then 1 of them we counted as complete based off of a conversation with mom where she said she took him to his own dentist to complete his treatment. Additionally, 5 came into the clinic at least once to have some treatment completed, but did not finish their treatment plan yet. And then 1 is currently on the schedule for additional services. So there's definitely still a percentage that we are working to get back in touch with to try to make sure that their needs get met. Our goal always, since we've opened the clinic 10 years ago, is that 75% of kids complete their treatment plan within 12 months. So here it's the same thing. Obviously, the longer we wait from the time of the exam, the less likely. The nice thing with this program is moving forward, we would be getting into the school 6 months. So hopefully we would catch these kids again in 6 months. They can get the silver diamine fluoride and the varnish treatment completed again, and then we can make that additional referral. So our outreach coordinator reaches out to each family 3 times. She attempts to make contact 3 times. If she's unsuccessful in reaching them by text or email or phone, whichever their preferred method was, then we mail a letter home that includes their treatment plan so that we make sure that they understand that their child has decay and that we recommend treatment is recommended and that we're able to help them, especially for the uninsured, to offer our discounts. And then Alexia is our outreach coordinator. So she's also been working with Carla Eccles and Tanya to help coordinate care, because of course your nurses in the district are amazing to work with, and they always communicate with us really well, and they're working on that follow-up care in collaboration like they do with all of the screenings that come in for the kiddos that go to the Grandview district. So the next steps are going to be to continue that care coordination. Like we said, we are going to evaluate program logistics. So that's going to be having some one-on-one phone calls with the school nurses, the health paras, or anyone that Alexia had contact with in the building to find out what worked for them, what didn't work very well. Again, this was a pilot program, so it's a learning experience for all of us. So we want to find out how we can make it better moving forward for everybody that's involved. Of course, promoting the program, collecting preliminary consent forms through enrollment. So we've already sent those forms over to Mary Rhodes to make sure that they could be included in your enrollment packet. So this time we'll try to do it the way that it's outlined in the MOA and see how that works. And then look ahead at planning for next school year. So the PSP, or Preventive Services Program, we've spoken with the nurses and agreed that the best route for this would be to really target the teledentistry program to the elementary schools to provide more comprehensive services there. We have learned through looking at data from the past several years that we have the highest rate, we see the highest rate of untreated decay in the lower grades. So when we added we were originally screening 3rd and 5th. When we added 1st grade, we saw that there was a higher rate of untreated decay among the 1st graders. We added 7th grade. We were finding the lowest rates of untreated decay among the 7th graders. So we're going to kind of narrow that focus back down to elementary while we expand the services provided in the school. So that is our plan or our intention with the program moving forward. Of course, that all depends on the continued partnership with you all. So at this time, I would just field any questions about the program that anybody might have.
Questions from anyone? No questions. I just want to say thank you for this program. Speaking as a mom whose 2 kiddos have terrible teeth, just it's genetic. I appreciate the fact that you are trying to get to these kiddos early before it gets really bad. Obviously, some are already really bad, but before it could be worse. So thank you for the work on this.
Absolutely. We're just trying to find ways to keep them in the classroom longer, keep them out of pain so that they can eat healthy diets and focus on school and just be in a good place overall. So we appreciate the partnership and look forward to it. Thank you.
Very proud of our partnership, and certainly, you know, Mary Rhodes and Lori Deanda, you know, the group that continue to help push these particular pieces. But you guys know this has been a component of mine as well. I've told them I want to be able to screen as many grade levels as we can. So she alluded to us going to middle school and trying to just find where the best place is. But I just appreciate our partnership, and certainly, again, like I said, when we started, the community partners that we have in this district are one of the main things that make this school district so amazing. So thanks, Katie, for your support, and we appreciate, certainly appreciate the Health Foundation's partnering with us.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is informational, so we can move right on to strategic governance focus area.
So we have our Board of Education meeting dates before you. A few kind of clarifications on there of just the exceptions to the rule of where we are. There is the exceptions of a couple of those dates where typically we're on the 3rd Thursday. And so there's a couple of changes on there and a few special meetings and workshops that are on there. So anything you want to add, Ms. Myers?
No, just that, you know, throughout the year, we'll probably add some special meetings and workshops, I think, that you're aware of. So the reason I might also explain the reason for waiving policy is because policy says we'll have them on the 3rd Thursday. So there's a couple times in there, a couple exceptions in there where we have to make it.
Any questions on that? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion that the recommend waive policy BDA and approve the regular, special, and work session meeting recommendations for the 2021-2022, including exceptions and additions noted in background information and outline in supporting documents.
Second.
Properly moved in second to waive policy BDA and approve the schedule as presented for 21-22. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimous. Thank you very much.
Alternative policy adoptions. This is tied to some of the work that was done, that was mentioned earlier in terms of the work at Grandview 8. And so to update our policy with where we are as a district and just make sure that everything's in alignment. It's been some work to get to this point. Our legal team was involved in part of that, and certainly getting information from Grandview 8 overall, just trying to get it to kind of this point. And so that, you know, staff meeting and confer just to update this policy to make sure that it is where it needs to be. And so it's been a couple of years really to get to this point. So I'm very thankful to have it on here. And so I asked Ms. Myers or Ms. Deanda, Ms. Cook to add anything else to that introduction there.
Mary Rhodes is also on the call today. She's been part of that. As you know, we had at one time we had a union, GFSP, that existed. As that dissolved, we had a board policy that needed to be updated. We developed a subcommittee to work that out, the issues in that regard, and develop a framework for a new process. We're very pleased with how that came about. There was representation from what we hoped were most of the schools and all of the different, there were invitations at least from all of the different categories of classified staff, and we came together with this policy. As Dr. Rodriguez said, in consultation with our legal folks. And I guess I would let Mary make any comments that she would like to make about the process. She's probably glad to be sharing this responsibility with more people than just herself and Mr. Winslow. Mary?
Yeah, this is I'm just so happy we've come to this point. It's a much needed update. I'm going to be very happy that we'll have more broad representation from the staff. The way we've been doing it the last couple of years has been working, but we need more representation, and this will give the staff more of a voice in the decisions that we're making.
Bringing this board meeting gives us the opportunity to hold the election before folks leave this year and have that team in place ready to hit the ground running in the fall. Questions if you have any?
Any questions from the board?
I might just add that, just for explanation, normally we do policies on first reading 1 month and policies on second reading following month. We do have the option to do what's called an alternative process, and that is when there's a time sensitive or good reason to do that all at once. We can do that since we use the Missouri School Boards Association as our policy editor. So that's why we're choosing to do this, as Ms. Danda said, so that the process can get rolling and be ready for the fall.
Thank you for that additional explanation.
Happy to answer additional questions or we'll entertain, ask for a motion.
All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we adopt revisions to policy GDQDA per the alternative adoption procedures outlined in policy B.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt revisions to policy GDQDA for the alternative adoption procedures outlined in policy BF. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right.
It's all for us.
That's all for you. All right. Now we're on the hot seat. Any reports from board members?
I do.
All right.
GEF has unfortunately not been able to do what we wanted to do this year. So we have our meeting tomorrow. We're realigning things for next year for fundraisers for next year. And then not as a part of my official school board duties, but as a self-appointed retiree, I am part of the employee recognition committee, and we have determined that we're not going to be able to have a banquet again this year, but we do not want to let another year go by where we don't recognize our retirees. So we are planning a retiree ceremony on May 13th at the state, at the high school stadium, football stadium. I'm not sure what time. Is anybody? 5 at 5 o'clock. So we hope you'll all be there because we want to recognize the people that have been here. That's it.
Okay. Anyone else?
So I had a couple things. One, I said it earlier, but I want to make sure I say it and announce it with everyone. I appreciate being able to serve as president as I did. You guys honored me with that, and it's been an honor to serve the district in that capacity. So that's one. Next thing, I got a chance to attend the NSBA function, and it was virtual. Got a chance to catch a couple of the sessions, and one of the speakers, can't remember his Anchor, Sean Anchor.
It is.
Okay, and he was talking about just the concept of happiness. And it's kind of funny because as he's talking about it, people kind of, you can tell, he's like, I know you're looking at me kind of crazy, but it's a serious thing. Only about 7 people read the survey, but it's important. And the numbers that he referred, as far as when people are just in that state of understanding that even though things can be bad, they can still be happy in that process, and how much learning goes up, how much health goes. I mean, there's so many factors that are affected by it. So I bring all of that to say, with the addition of the packages, the things that we're doing, being able to add some of that back, and so that our staff can actually get some of that joy, it adds so much back into it. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Yeah. That's it for me. Anything else? I was trying to remember the other process, but I was so intrigued by that one. I forgot the other session I sat in on. Good for me.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Okay, I only have one thing. I am ashamed to admit this, but I'm 3 years into serving on the board, and I literally just 2 weeks ago got a login to the MSBA website that has a ton of additional resources outside of what we have. So if you have not gotten that login yet, please do so, because there may be some things coming that you will want to have that login for. So, or maybe everybody else has done it and I just am late to the party, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody had that. I kind of used our own district resources, but I needed something a couple weeks ago, and I knew that's where it was, so I got that login. So I just wanted to add that. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, if not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor?